Hello, it's Jay here again, and welcome to another video. In this lesson, we're going to do some updates to the Play One movement script, and we're just going to work on making things a little bit more accurate. So what I'm going to do is begin by starting the game, and I can show you what the problem is. So, in fact, let me just stop that there. I'm actually going to come in the Play One movement script, and let's actually uncomment these debug logs in the walk left and walk right, and then we can use the console. And apologies, I did meant to do that first. This is actually not the first time I've tried to record this video, so sorry if I've made any if I make any mistakes. Yeah, I've just had a nightmare trying to record, so please forgive that. I'm getting rather tired now trying to actually do this video. Anyway, if we're on the left side of the screen, we go left, we walk left, right, we walk right. Okay, that makes sense. But if I swap the positions around, so now the player is on the right, and as you can see, if I come towards the opponent again, when I walk to the right, player walk left is actually the one being called. So let's just stop that there. We're just going to actually update these naming conventions just to make them a little bit more accurate. So it's not so much problem with the code, just the naming conventions. So player walk left is now going to be player walk retreat. And I'm just going to copy that naming convention, and we'll come to our finite state machine. As you can see, we've got a red error there. We'll paste over that. We also need to paste the line below, and that will show red until we've actually renamed the void. And we'll just save that off. So I've renamed void, changed the naming convention in the debug log as well. I'm just going to use the console. This is in Play One controls. We need to change walk left in here to play walk retreat. And now we'll come back to the walk right, which is now going to become walk advance. Obviously you can use different naming conventions if you wish, you know, something like walk advance on opponent. If you don't mind the longer names, you can do that. But I think these naming conventions will suffice, and they'll be far more accurate. So again, red error until we fix the void, so don't worry about that. That will disappear once we've renamed this. The void, I'll change around the debug log as well. Come back to Play One controls, And I'm just going to change now. I will have to go through and change the comments, so I will do that off camera this time. But just be aware of that. You will also need to change the comments. But now let's start the game, and we're just going to let this run through again. So, while the player is on the left of the screen, retreat, advance. Not much of an issue. We knew that should work. But now if we change the positions round, let's just come back to game. Now when I retreat from the opponent, the retreat void is being called, and when I advance, advance is being called. Hopefully you can see that in the console. I'll just move backwards and forwards again just so you can see that working. And this is all this is. It's just a case of making the naming conventions just make more sense, be more accurate. It might seem trivial, but when you get a big project with lots of code, it can make your life a lot easier if you have good naming conventions, you know, so when you go back to code you've written a while back, it just makes everything a lot more easier. So now this is just the retreat. Let's have a look. I just want to find all references. So let's have a look. I don't think I modified that variable. I'm just going to come back up now and retreat speed. We're just using for the animation, which is what I thought. So let's just copy player retreat speed and now this is just for retreating, not walk left. We don't have to worry about any if statements for which side of the screen the player is on. And yes, we do need to actually begin to condense and tidy up some of this code. We will get onto that. We've got a lot of things to do. So I'm just going to save that off there. I'm just going to test this out as it is. And just see what happens to the player. And let's have a look. Should have changed it there as well. Let's just save that off. And we're just going to actually go through again. And see what happens. Now that's a little bit more like it. As you can see, the player is now moving away a little bit more slowly than it advances, and that's what we want. That's how most fighting games work. When you retreat, you move a little bit slower than when you advance. Obviously, with the values, you can experiment, but as you can see, when we move to the other side of the screen, the speed for retreat is still working correctly, and so the advance. So let's stop that there. And we can actually for the player jump forward and backwards, we can actually do the same thing. So jump forward would become advance. And wrong one, that's come down. Yeah, we would need to change for the come down as well. So player jump backwards, retreat. And I'm just going to go through this very quickly because, as I say, it's things we've already done. Literally just done. So I'm just going to quickly change the naming conventions to advanced and retreat where applicable throughout the script. And again, this will just make things just make a lot more sense. That should be jump forward, should be the advance. Jump backwards should now be the retreat. We'll change it out in the debug log as well. And we'll just uncomment the debug log for testing. And we just need to find the references, so jump forwards and backwards. And we're just changing it to jump retreat for the backwards and advance forwards again. I'm going to keep the jump speeds the same because, again, that's what a lot of fighting games do. It's just if you're walking it tends to be slower, but not when you're jumping. That seems to stay consistent. So I'll just make sure that's saved off. We'll hit play and we'll see what happens now. And we'll just see if the jump is now making more sense in the naming. So let me just jump retreat, jump advance. Yep, that's working on the left side, which it really should. There's no reason it shouldn't do. Is when we move to the opposite side, I'll just clear the console back down again. And jump retreat and jump advance. So again, making a lot more sense. And we'll finish up this video in a moment. We're just going to do the same for the come down, forward, and I'll just change this to advance and retreat as well. I'll just copy retreat for the moment. Must remember to do this in the enum as well. So I'm just changing the backwards to retreat just for the time being. And we'll come back up. In fact, I need to just change out the void. I'm going to leave the debug commented for now. I'll actually re-comment them. We've seen it working. We know everything works now regarding the naming convention. So let's just go ahead and change this. And we're just looking for red errors. Come down, forwards. So let me just have a look. And again, I'll come through and actually just change the comments. But again, I'll do that off camera. And we'll just save that up. That should avoid any more red errors, which it does. So we'll clear that off. We'll leave it there for this video. Again, I know we haven't added a lot functionally, but it's just something that needed to be done. I'll try and do something a little bit more interesting for the next video, but we'll leave it there for now. As always, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope to see you next time. And as always, until then, bye for now.